I'm very pleased to welcome Chairman and Managing Director at Raymond, Gautam Singhania. Hi, good morning. I hope the family and you are safe and healthy, and people have gotten their jabs on time.
Thank you. And yes, all well. I hope everybody in your team is well.
Thanks very much. So far, so good. I want to start with the idea of a supercar club. When did it first come about? Who are you and a few good men and women who got together and formed that supercar club?
So, I think in 2007, 2008, when we used to take our cars out, we always saw it put a smile on people's face. So wherever we took it, there'd be a small crowd of people. And obviously, everybody who has a supercar has the same passion for design, for speed, for the whole feel. And my idea was that why don't we get these guys together? Because apart from everything else, when you are part of the club, you learn from each other, you share the same passion. And then at that time, with the 2008 crisis, we said, why don't we do a show where we can bring all the cars out to one location? And that was the humble beginning, but I think it was such an exciting event. It started at Ornament Circle in that small car park outside the gallery. And then from there, of course, it grew, and we were overwhelmed with the response that we got, with the hundreds and thousands of people that lined the roads and with kids and shouting. And I think that's how this whole passion was born, and it's a club of people of like-minded passions.
Wonderful. And the corollary to that club, the fact that today you have a supercar club garage. I'd like you to get into that, the genesis of that, and what really the supercar club garage is all about.
So, I've got my cars done at various garages over my lifetime. So two things. One, they were not professional. They did good work, but no idea on cost, timelines, etc. And number two, the environments were not good. They were in the gullies of different parts. And I just feel very uncomfortable that my cars went to some of these kind of locations. And we wanted to do world-class work. So my work was also a lot. And it really started off by saying, can we create a world-class facility? And so if you send your car to a dealership, if you buy any brand and send it to a dealership, you'll pay more than 50% more than what you'd pay me to fix it, because the dealership makes money on that. And I know the dealership's not going to like me saying this, but that's really where they make their money. And ours is a business. We're not in that after-sales market. So I have a passion that goes across cars. So I would say I got a very eclectic collection in terms of cars. We've got from vintage cars to classic cars to hot rods to racing cars to dragsters to modified cars to supercars to any type of car. So I think the whole concept of the workshop is to explore auto. And today we are not only doing restoration of cars, we are also doing modification of cars. We've set up India's largest paint booth. We did a very interesting project just now of magic paint, where you look at the car and from different angles, it looks different colors. We're of course doing restoration. And most restoration people would take 2 years and 3 years and 4 years. I met a big collector last week in Rajasthan. He said, I've given my car for restoration 4 years and he's still not come back. And I replied to him, I said, we are giving a guaranteed restoration timeline of 4 months. So we're doing it in a professional manner. And which is why we set up this huge facility. I think it's we've got a lot of work right now, and we continue to get a lot of work. But as our projects are coming out, in fact, half an hour ago, two beauties that I've just brought back to life, a 1906 Rio and a 1911 Brush. Now, these are cars not heard of, but we've actually brought them back to life, resurrected them to life. And yesterday we started the 1911 Brush. And imagine it's a 110-year-old car that fired up. Now, when that comes to life, it gives me a lot of joy. So we've created a world-class facility, and it's my passion. I enjoy it. It's my stress buster.
You know, I always joke with a few of my Parsi friends saying that their vintage and classic cars are dearer to them than their family and their children, perhaps. Of
Well,
course, tongue in cheek.
part of the up in the Parsis is that they are allowed to park their motorcycle in their living room.
In the living room. Well said. So, you know, people who feel so passionately about their vintage and their classic car collection will always be asking you questions about the engineers who are going to be working on them in the Supercar Club garage. You want to talk about your highly skilled professionals who are actually in the
I think
workshop?
more than talk about the people that are there, we've obviously put in place the best team possible. And because I'm very finicky about quality, I'm very finicky about what we do. That's me. That's my DNA. I mean, quality is engraved in me, in whether it's from Raymond, what I do, to cars, to real estate, to whatever I do. So that's me. Having said that, I think we've got the best team of people. But what really speaks the highest is to see the quality of the work. And like I said, I released pictures this morning of the brush and the Rio that is just completed. We have another car that will be completed in 2 days. And as you start seeing the quality of our work, is that will speak everything for the team.
And I believe there's also a nice place to chill out. Tell us all.
Yeah, so we have a nice supercar club cafe attached to it. You know, when I was a kid, I'd like to get work done on my car. I'd like to go to the garage and, sit there. So here you can sit in the cafe, have a cup of coffee, get your work done. You want to get a PPF done on your car, you can sit in the cafe and watch it get done. You can interact with the garage. You can be in a space to do that. Say you want striping done, you want all kinds of stuff that you want your exhaust changed, you want a modification done. You have a cafe where you can sit with the garage team. So for example, if you go to a garage, no garage has a conference room. We have a conference room for customers. If you come and you want to discuss a retro mod or a hot rod build, we'll give you all the information. We'll interact with you as a proper customer. If you go to any garages today, we've got eight lifts that are there, with dedicated bays, dedicated toolkits. So it's really done in a professional way, and that's what makes me happy. It's for me, it's the passion of creating something in a fantastic environment. I mean, one of the top marquee brands, for example, I don't want to name them, but we have a customer who's coming yesterday who said, I went to the dealership and they were not able to fix my car. Can you fix it? And it's one of the top brands in the world. And the dealership can't fix it. So that's, people, and of course, we're 40% cheaper.
The Supercar Club Garage and Cafe is in the Raymond Thani facility, and it's open to the public. Go and check it out. All of a sudden, there is a buzzword around vintage cars. In fact, Aaditya Thackeray, the tourism minister, government of Maharashtra, has gone public with this, saying it's one thing about seeing those vintage cars lined up on Marine Drive on select occasions and days, but he now wants to build a vintage car museum. Your thoughts on that idea, and of course your collection of vintage cars. I'd like to talk about that, please.
So, with all due humility, I was the one who first spoke to Subhash ji, and then I spoke to Aditya ji, and I said, when people go to a city, they want something to do, and
sure,
heritage in vintage cars, legacy of vintage cars. Can we create a vintage car museum? So when you come to Bombay, apart from going to see the Gateway of India, can you go and see a beautiful vintage car museum? Look in many cities in the world, like the Peterson Museum or many, many such museums. When we go to those cities, even if for 2 or 3 hours, you don't have to be a car lover, but to go see a collection of vintage cars or supercars for that, of a car, it's like going to the Prince of Wales Museum to see art of a different type. And when you say there's a 110-year-old brush car in Bombay, built in 1911, we're in 2021 today. I mean, it's a piece of art. I mean, if you take a Detroiter, I think the Detroiter company only ran from 1911 to 1918. Now, we restored a Detroiter from Kachra. We bought it in Kachra and restored it.
Wow.
And it's today, you see it, even if you don't love cars, you'll still say, wow, there's design in it, there's form in it, there's passion in it. I mean, if you see the vintage car rallies, people who don't understand vintage cars, they come out to see it.
Yeah, so if you could add on your own personal collection, stuff that you're, or cars that you're really proud of in your vintage car collection.
So there's no particular car I'm proud of, because I think what I'm proud of is that I'm building a very different type of collection. Yeah, there are some phenomenal, historic pieces of cars there. But for me, it's every car has its own passion and charm. I mean, I'm talking to you about a Rio on a brush today because I'm actually seeing it getting finished, and our completion is tomorrow, but it's 99.99% done. And to see it from where it came to me to where it has reached today is really a journey which I truly enjoy.
Beautiful. I've also seen some very vibrant pictures of your Nissan Skyline GTR and your Lamborghini Aventador SV. Must be very proud of them.
Well, the Skyline GTR is a drag car, and I hold the record currently for the drag at 9.2 seconds for the quarter mile. It's fun. Again, like I said, the different types of cars.
And you also have a McLaren 720S. Indians normally are only crazy about the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis, and that's a new breed of supercars, isn't it?
So the Ferraris, Ferrari is more passion, less car. And today's technology in cars is going to a different level. I think the fundamental difference between the Ferrari and McLaren, and I think which Ferrari has missed, I hope nobody at Ferrari is listening to me, because they'll say this guy is trying to preach to us who know everything. But I think Ferrari have missed the carbon tub technology. And McLaren are coming out of the carbon tub technology, and they're building around the carbon tub as opposed to a chassis that Ferrari does. And I think that's made the car completely different. And, I don't know how long they'll take to switch over, or whether they will, or they'll counter it in some way. But I just think when we say, everybody says supercars, Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, but I don't think three cars could be more different from each other than the three of these are.
Well said. I remember a few years ago seeing this cute little car, the Ariel Atom. If I'm not mistaken, it didn't even have a roof, doors, just one driver. Tell us about that. Does it still hold pride of place in your collection?
Yeah, I think every car of mine holds pride of place. So, you can't differentiate between your children. But the Ariel Atom is a really great car. It was a lightweight, high power, super accelerating, more car per money than anything can buy. 0 to 100 in 2.6 seconds, 2.8 seconds, 300 horsepower, supercharged, really, really quick. And they give you a lot of car for car. And, the power to weight ratio was phenomenal, extremely quick. But it's a basic car. It doesn't have any frills. It doesn't have a windscreen. It doesn't have a roof. It doesn't have a wiper. It's got the bare minimum. And I think Ariel did a phenomenal job building that car. But somewhere down the line, I think they made other cars which didn't quite do well, like the Nomad.
We just spoke of Ferrari. You did so well in the Ferrari Challenge Series, and if I'm not mistaken, you got a podium finish in 2014 with the Ferrari 458 Speciale. And apart from that, Ferrari themselves reached out to you and said, they'd like you to have the Ferrari LaFerrari. So if you could talk to me a little bit about those two there.
Yeah, so LaFerrari is an amazing car. But if you come to the challenge, I did the season, I think it was 2015. And in 2015, I was probably the only rookie who got 10 podiums. So I got a podium in 14 at Abu Dhabi, which was just like a warm-up race for me. But I think in 15, I got 10 podiums. 2 races, I just had bad luck, where one, somebody came and crashed into me, and one, my gearbox broke. So I should have won the championship that year. But, that's history. I enjoyed every minute of the Ferrari Challenge. I learned a lot. And I think my driving improved significantly. So we had some great battles out there. It was a lot of fun.
Well, that season, 2015, post that, a lot of people felt that you would go in and get into GT3 racing. Any thoughts on that?
I would have loved to do it, but, I have a business to run. to be honest with you, the reason I did Ferrari Challenge, it all started off as a small dream. And I said, let me see, we've grown up racing in this country. I said, let me see if we've got it within us. I mean, are we good, bad, or ugly? I mean, how good are we as drivers? And there was no point pitting myself against drivers in this country. I wanted to go international. And I had three choices. I had choices doing Asian Championship, American Championship, or European. And the reason I chose European was specifically because European is the most challenging, because Europe is like a mecca of racing, etc. And I went to race to prove to myself, or at least to open my eyes to myself, to see how good I was. I did it for myself, not for anybody else. And I really enjoyed it. And we won races. We had a lot of fun, got lots of podiums, had highly aggressive competitive racing, and I made a name for myself. And it's better to quit at the top, and I have a business to run.
Lovely. I follow you on social media, and I remember a couple of years ago, you were giving the sandrail a bash in Alibag. I know Nawaz and yourself and the family have a home there. So a little bit about the sandrail.
So a sandrail is a different kind of machine. It's basically for the sand. The one that I built is a Chevy LSO3 with twin superchargers on it. She's putting out about 1,200 horsepower at the wheels, and it's a lot of kick in that. We've taken it a few times to the desert, including last month. And once you get out in the desert and you crank it up, she does a full wheelie. She'll go 45 degrees all the way down the desert. For 200 meters, you can take a 45 degrees. You can take it for 2,000 meters if you still have any brains left. But
well, go check out Gautam Singhania on social media. You'll actually see him do that wheelie. That's wonderful. I know it's a very cliched question. Everybody asks you this, but for our audience, what's the first car you ever owned, and do you still have it? Is the big question.
Yeah, so my first car was a very famous car in Beach Candy, at least. It was a Premier Padmani 1100R. I think everybody at Beach Candy knew that car. And yeah, it is still with me.
Lovely. When I spoke to you at the beginning of this pandemic, I had the honor and privilege to host the antiviral launch with you and Swami Subodhananda. And I remember at that point in time, you told everybody that, you will fight back, and, that there will be a resurgence in the business. How's the business held up? It's not been an easy year for most people.
I think it's been a very difficult year for everybody. But you have to win in the mind. If you win in the mind, then you can win everything. So yes, we were doing, I think we came out a lot, but what's happening this week, who could have predicted? It is a setback, but in life you do get setbacks. Stay focused, look far. Short term, you only see the potholes.
What a beautiful note to end this interview. Thank you very, very much for your time and your patience, and see you soon. Cheers.
Thank you very much.